The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
My heart was broke today.
Why do we keep letting this happen?
We are behind the police line right now at Robb Elementary.
The suspect did act alone.
His motive, types of weapons used.
It's time to act.
We're a small community. We will need your prayers to get us through this. Thank you.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Maddie Jansen.
And I'm Alex Fisher. This morning we once again find ourselves grappling with the raw emotions brought on by an unthinkable tragedy that's happened too many times in this country.
Just 24 hours ago, nearly 20 parents dropped their kids off at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and assumed they'd see their kids 6 hours later. This morning, those parents aren't packing their child's lunch or making sure their homework is finished, but instead planning a funeral.
We know of at least 19 children and 2 teachers killed in yesterday's shooting, but this morning the grim reality is that number is now turning into names, like 10-year-old Uzziah Garcia and 10-year-old Javier Lopez, whose mom was with him at school for an awards ceremony before he was killed, and the 9-year-old Amerie Jo Garzman, who recently received an honor roll certificate.
Flags across the country will fly at half-staff in honor of the 21 killed in this shooting. This is a live look this morning at the Kern County Superintendent of Schools office in downtown Bakersfield, where you can see the flag flying at half-staff there.
And Superintendent of Schools Mary Barlow among those offering thoughts and prayers yesterday.
We'll let you know what local officials said later in the show, but first let's bring in 17's Chris Burton. He has been tracking local reaction to the massacre since yesterday afternoon. Chris?
Alex, Maddie, here in Kern County, parents and siblings are once again forced to confront the devastating possibility that their son, daughter, brother, or sister isn't guaranteed to come home from school. Heartbreakingly, many now taking that possibility as an accepted fact of life. Yesterday, Kayla Subia grateful for the most routine of events. Her little brother stepping into her car to come home.
With what's happening and how normal school shootings are, it's always like, you know, I'm always thankful that he's able to come home with me at the end of the day, and thankful I'm able to drop him off in the morning and have him come home safe.
Around the county, educators reacted to the shooting that, at last count, left 19 children dead. Kern County Superintendent of Schools Mary Barlow released a statement following the shooting, saying in part, "Senseless and horrific acts like the one today in Texas that continue to occur throughout our country are harsh reminders that no matter how hard we try to keep our children safe, we unfortunately must always prepare for the very worst scenarios. It breaks my heart." Kern County hasn't seen a shooting on a school campus since a student was shot at Taft High School in 2013. Even so, Bakersfield College professor of criminal justice Dr. Tommy Tucson warns attacks on children in schools across the country are now a fact of life.
We have reached a point in time in evolution that we've got to train them how to protect themselves in case of a situation like this, one that we never thought would happen, but we now know fully well it could happen.
Tucson, among the many, at a loss for words.
My heart is so heavy I can't even articulate, but I want to make sure that we minimize future occurrences.
Give those you love a hug today. In studio, Chris Burton, 17 News.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Meantime, in Washington, President Biden and Democrats are renewing calls for stricter gun control laws to stem the number of mass shootings in this country.
You're looking live this morning at Capitol Hill, where there is little agreement about what, if anything, can be done. NBC's Chris Pullen reports.
Alex and Maddie, good morning. Here in Washington, there's a lot of shock and outrage following this latest school massacre in the U.S., but there's also skepticism that anything will change given the sharp political divide.
Good evening, fellow Americans.
After yet another school massacre in America, President Biden is asking the question that's on so many other people's minds.
Why? Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen?
The president in the role of consoler-in-chief for the second time in a week.
These kinds of mass shootings never happen with the kind of frequency they happen in America. Why?
What are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing?
Shortly after the news broke, Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy passionately urged his colleagues to act.
I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here.
It's truly horrific.
Despite recent polls consistently showing Americans strongly support expanded background checks for gun buyers, there's little agreement in the Senate about what can be done to prevent more massacres.
There's no doubt we need to do more to keep children in schools safe. We know from past experience that the most effective tool for keeping kids safe is armed law enforcement on the campus.
A Texas Department of Public Safety lieutenant said a school resource officer and 2 local police officers were unable to stop the body armor-clad shooter Tuesday and had to wait for a tactical team to arrive. When news of this massacre broke, President Biden called Texas Governor Greg Abbott and offered any and all assistance the federal government can provide. In Washington, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
Following yesterday's mass shooting, Governor Newsom issued a call for tougher gun controls. In a statement, Newsom said, quoting here, "Another shooting, and the GOP won't do a damn thing about it. Who the hell are we if we can't keep our kids safe? This is preventable. Our inaction is a choice. We need nationwide, comprehensive, common sense gun safety now," end quote.
Meantime, Bakersfield Congressman and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy responded to the shooting yesterday. In a statement posted to social media, he wrote, quote, "No words. The entire nation mourns the evil tragedy at Robb Elementary in Texas. Please join me in prayer for the families and the entire community of Uvalde."
And 21st District Congressman David Valadao issued this statement on Twitter saying, quote, "Heartbreaking news out of Texas today. This is a senseless act of violence and your worst nightmare as a parent. Tara and I are praying for the Uvalde community during this unimaginable tragedy."
Updates continue to come in this morning, and we continue to follow the latest developments in this tragedy. For new information, interviews, victim profiles, and additional updates, just head to our website, kget.com. We turn now to our Water Watchers file, and California water regulators yesterday approved a statewide ban on watering decorative lawns at businesses and institutions. Officials say this means grass or lawns not regularly used for recreational or community purposes. This ban does not apply to the residential sector or when addressing the health of trees, perennial plants, or immediate health and safety needs. Violators can be fined by an agency that can enforce penalties. Along with this ban, the board also approved a requirement for local water agencies to move into what's called their Level 2 water contingency plans, which assumes a water shortage of 20%. Local agencies set the rules and can vary from place to place, which can include cutting down on outdoor water use and incentivizing people to use more efficient appliances. These rules would need to be in place by the week of June 6th.
To use them as a tool to see if they can work, to see if we can have more tailored approaches, and importantly, see the outcomes we all collectively need to, given the challenges that not just California but the arid West face on usage.
This vote comes as Governor Newsom warned large water districts that if there isn't significant water conservation this summer, more state mandates could be put in place. Newsom is expected to meet again with local water agencies to discuss progress in the coming months.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OBGYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
5:38 your time this morning. In education news now, from harvesting tabletop grapes to graduating top of her university class, Jasmine Barita, now a CSUB graduate, is a prime example of how far determination and grit can take you. 17's Christian Galeno has her story.
Donning her cap and gown alongside university leaders, Jasmine Barita proudly walks into her commencement ceremony, ready to turn the tassel.
Jasmine Araceli Barita.
It's like speechless at the moment.
But getting here was not easy. We first met Jasmine when the CSU awarded her the Trustee Award, one of the biggest awards that a CSU student can be decorated with.
I kept going And obviously, I wouldn't have done it without the support of my family.
Arriving at the age of 11 from her home state of Oaxaca to toil the grapevines, Jasmine recalls the cold days where her bones would ache from the freezing temperatures, to the piping hot days that wouldn't slow farm workers picking grapes every single day. Looking back, it brings back a flurry of emotions.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Be patient and to never give up. It is hard.
The days she spent in the field started early, picking grapes that would later turn into raisins. Nights ended with soiled, damp clothing and aching joints. Eventually, those days ended and turned into long nights of studying, thanks to the College Assistance Migrant Program at CSUB, who assists farm workers or their children enrolled in the first year of undergraduate studies.
Because without them, I wouldn't be here.
And life after turning the tassel isn't that bad. Jasmine will now be crunching numbers as a tax associate with a local accounting firm, and she's set to start in July. But school isn't over yet for Jasmine. Her next step is to seek certification as a public accountant to further serve her community.
Thank you very much, Jasmine, for all that you have done. You are sure making us proud.
In Bakersfield, Christian Galeno, 17 News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.